Hi guys, welcome back to the Moning Bookshelf. Today I am going to review High Voltage by Karen Marie Moning. So this is one of the most recent books that came out with the Fever series, or at least I consider it part of the Fever series. It could be maybe kind of like maybe a separate entity from it. I don't know, but I consider it part of the Fever series. But this one, and I will throw out a little bit of a warning. I may get a bit emotional with this one. I'm going to try not to. So I feel like enough time has passed where it's not super, the feelings or emotions aren't super potent. But I'm going to try, just be warned. But anyways, so this one, very much like Iced, follows Danny more, or this one's more or less about Danny, after the events of Fever Song. Probably, also another little forewarning, this book is really dark. It sits more in the darker feels than any of the other Fever series, or Fever books. So be warned on that. I wasn't quite expecting how dark it could get. But anywho, this book had been sitting on my bookshelf for like, oh God, a year maybe or more. Just because I kind of dreaded reading it because I viewed it as, you know, this is the last of the Fever series, and I wasn't quite ready to say goodbye yet. So as long as I kept the book on my to-be read, I knew that things were still happening. And now with the newest book coming out in February, I really needed to get it done. So I read this in like 2 days. So really fast read. But definitely hit hard in the emotions. This deals with a lot of like abandonment issues, which is something that I do kind of suffer from. But this one takes place months after the events of Fever Song. So if you've read Fever Song, you know that someone very special and very important to Danny has not made it. He died. So she's still kind of working through the grief. We're seeing a little bit more of like the grief process with Danny. But also like this is also like a completely different Danny. So like in Ice, when we got Danny, the first book that followed Danny, you know, she was that spunky 14-year-old kid that had the self-confidence of the world. You know, it was just her level of self-confidence was so astronomically high. You know, she pretty much thought she was invincible, and, you know, she ruled the world. She was a superhero. And then in Fever Born and in Fever Song, we saw another completely that side of Danny, more of an adult, due to certain events. You know, she was very cold, very calculated, very logical. This is a Danny that kind of mixes the two. She does have moments of where you see that glimpse of love for life and that spark and spunkiness, but at the same time you still see that cold and calculated person that Danny is now, or was. So it's a completely different Danny. Her inner monologue is so completely different. It was almost like reading a different person. Not bad, just different. But you know, we do sit a lot in the dark feels. You know, the 9 has kind of, you know, they've kind of went their own ways, and there's things with Mac and Barron's that are going on because of the ending of Fever Song, and, you know, Danny's kind of left on her own for a while, and she has to kind of figure out how to live. So that's kind of what the book's about. We didn't get as much Shazam as I wish, but the little twist with him was okay. there wasn't like, there wasn't a whole bunch of writing in it either. There was a little bit towards the end, but not as much as I was expecting. Like, I had set this whole book up completely different than the way it went. You know, I was expecting, you know, writing to come in and basically, you know, get Danny's head on straight after Dancer, and, you know, they were going to go on these grand adventures and, you know, try and save the world or save Dublin, and, you know, basically kind of like Iced, but adult version of Iced. And when that didn't happen, oh my God, I was left so emotionally upset that, like, I kept texting everyone, and it's like, dude, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I don't know if I can finish this book because, or not finish it. I was going to always finish it, but like, I didn't know how fast I was going to be able to read it because of the emotions that had gotten really dark. Things did change a little bit, and there's a little twist that happens with Danny. You know, some of her actions from Iced came back to kind of haunt her. And it's looking, you know, very bleak and grim for Danny. And then, like, I don't know how to talk about this next part without doing any spoilers. In the book, like I said, the book has been out for a while. It came out in hardback. It's now in paperback. I've had it sitting on my to-be-read shelf for a year. So, the little twist with Danny at the end was so emotional for me because of all the abandonment issues that Danny suffered. And like, I was gotten to a few parts where, like, Woody had come in and I'm sitting there sobbing. And it was happy tears, but I was sobbing because things had started so dark for Danny, and then got so much better, and it just meant a lot because Danny had been having such a horrible life, basically since her young childhood, and then, like, all the things with her mom, and we learned a little bit more about that. And then we learned a little bit more about Rona. And the things that Rona did to Danny were horrible. And then how life just kept kicking her. And then she got this amazing, amazing plot twist that was awesome. So, trying not to give any spoilers away, but know that it was an amazing, amazing moment for Danny. And worked out really good for her. So, Karen Marie Moning is amazing with putting all those feels into it. I do feel like part of the little twist with Danny was kind of sort of handed to us to make Danny have a happy ending, which I'm never going to fault Karen Marie Moning for, because Danny really, really needed this. But it was kind of also like Mac with Barons. The little twist with Barons was almost kind of like a hand-me-down just to make them on even playing fields. But I would complain more about Mac and Barons than I would ever complain about Danny. Because of the little things that happen, those little plot twists, and I really don't want to give anything away because of how emotional it is and how special it was for Danny to experience all that and to have things change for Danny. Some of the events that happen in this book for Danny and for Dublin does kind of take a bit of a step away from the Fae a little bit, because things are kind of sort of up in the air, and it all kind of centers on the end of Fever Song. So there are new elements that came in. I kind of wish that maybe they were more prominent in the other books, but I understand why it wasn't. But there is, yeah, a whole different level of things that are brewing. But yeah, so it was good. Like I said, it was good. You obviously see how emotional it made me. But I think this one is probably, despite the dark beginning, is probably one of my now favorite books out of the Fever series, just mainly because my love for Danny had grown so much since I read the Fever series the first time. And with this being my very first read for this book, I wasn't really knowing what to expect, but I already had established that I loved Danny. Danny is an amazing character. I loved her spark for life, and that we got to see it so much more in Iced, and just how amazing she was. But the little events and things that happened to Danny that were so profound and so gut-wrenching for her, just like I said, it made this book that much more of a blessing for her. Sorry if that's a spoiler, just know that if you love Danny as much as I did or do and hated the things that she had to go through and she was experiencing, just know that it gets so much better for her. The last couple of chapters were just, I basically spent it all in tears of happiness because just it worked out. So happily ever after, almost pretty damn well done. But yeah, I really did love it. I liked how it kind of tied in a little bit of a knot, a loose end for Danny. But yeah, so that was High Voltage from Karen Marie Moning. Be prepared for all the feels, the good and the bad. The bad do kind of take up more of the book, but it's okay. It just power through it. You'll get to happier things at the end. So I want to know if everybody else was experienced the amount of emotions that I did over Danny and how things played out. Were you happy about it? Do you wish it was done a little differently, or was everything perfect? But yeah, go ahead and drop that in the comment section. Again, sorry for being a little emotional, but some of the things did kind of, so the beginning feelings just kind of hit a little too close to home. Yeah, it's just, it couldn't be helped. It just can't be helped. You'll have to just experience all the emotions with it. But anyways, thank you for watching me become a little bit of a blubbering mess for a second. And I really hope that y'all enjoyed this book as much as I did, and your love for Danny is just as high as mine. But anyways, thank y'all for watching. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Check out High Voltage. I don't think you'll be disappointed. And until the next book I finish, I'll catch you next time. Bye.